Peace and Belton family. This is your boy Gerald. It's Monday. Correction, it's Tuesday, the 30th of May, 2017. How is everybody doing? Some of you are starting your work week. Some of you are coming off of your Memorial Day weekend. First of all, shout out those who serve, those who have loved ones who don that uniform to ensure that your rights, your freedoms, and privileges were intact. Now that I've got that out of the way, and there are those who are, their Tuesday is actually their Monday, and they're looking down the week. Throw this video out for you. Got my morning coffee. Trying to let these soup coolers be in sync with my mind. For those who have been watching propaganda TV, or what we know as the media, the watching TV and how you receive it, this past weekend has been very bleak, but this is nothing but another cog in the wheel to keep you ill-informed, to enhance what we know as uncertainty, and to promote more fear. First of all, let me let you know, God's got something better for you. And there may be some that may be in a position where things seem a little gray, a little bleak. You may even admit to yourself that you don't know if you're coming or going. You are just sustaining time. You know, all that can end when you make a commitment to yourself. Who am I talking to? Now, I say this to you because if you allow your circumstances to motivate your foundation, you will not have that foundation. You will be impacted. You will become hypersensitive, or in some degree, you will be frozen, offset. And I'm here to tell you that ain't your story. Never was, never will be. But that can't change until you make a commitment to uphold a promise to yourself. Did you hear what I said? If you don't like your environment and what is being shown in your environment, what is being asked of you is to take note to what the variables are. How about the people? How about the choices? Let alone the effect. You've heard me echo time and time again, if you're in an environment that does not support, uplift the best you, that's not the environment that you're supposed to be in. So that means you have to be honest with yourself. You may even have to make certain concessions. Even in cases, be strategic. But there's one thing that ties it all together, and that's you. I'm a firm believer that a possession has no value unless you claim it to be. So why aren't you claiming you? Why aren't you allowing yourself this moment to say, you know what? I deserve better. Maybe, just maybe, this is the moment where you will put the ego, the bravado, and the pride to the side and allow the love in. Because, see, truth of the matter is, nobody can love you more than you. And I'll flip it. No one can be more critical when it comes to you than yourself. Who am I talking to? So, first of all, let's say this. You think it's time that you decide to get out your head? How about that energy that you are putting out, but you're not receiving back? Do you not see the correlation that's going on? The distraction is robbing you from you. It is pretty much inviting the setback to come in. Because the truth of the matter is, we are what we attract. That is why, family, words have power. But on the other note, you can't get back words once they have fallen from your lips. That's why it's very, very imperative. You've heard your elders say, think before you speak. Be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. When the truth of the matter is, you do. So let's look at what's going on now, family. We saw splashed all over the news because news is not about upliftment, it's about tearing you down. Hoping that you will finally wave the white flag and give up to be a part of the status quo. But let me convey this to each and every one of you. You are not, nor ever was part of the status quo because you are the exception to the rule. That's why there is only one you. So with that, just that right there, that should tell you there is a certain requirement to protect, to build, to define, and display what you stand for. Now, we live in an environment, we can easily say the last 3 decades, one of the things that was promoted by your family members or those of influence was mind your damn business. And they were only going off of what was instilled in them. This does not mean that was a bad thing. But as the generations come and go, look at where we are now. We are in a social climate where it's not about the best you. It's about the marginal. And the result is you have a whole lot of broken people walking around this planet. You have a whole lot of people that are doing a disservice, not only to their legacy, but their names. And they feel trapped within themselves. Should I go left? Should I go right? Should I stand still or should I go forward? What should I do? And they rely their mindset, their mentality based off the influence given, may it be good or bad. A lot of times it's bad. A lot of times it's based off of impulse. A lot of times it's built off of fear. What's wrong with that, family? What's wrong with that? So we just had a situation that occurred in Portland, Oregon, where there was a troubled individual who decided to take his frustration out and spew his ideologies at a person or persons that what only wanted to do is get to where they were going. And it got heated. And then there were people that I imagine took note what was going on, but did nothing. But then there were three individuals that knew within their own moral fiber that was wrong. Unfortunately, two of the three would make the ultimate sacrifice to come to the defense of these passengers. And they're not here. As the stories come and the networks report it, the one thing that made me question about the assailant was, where was this person's head? What was the disconnect? Why did they feel that the person that they had manifested themselves into be, and why they felt that they had to use that outlet to voice it? I'm pretty sure that person, when it's all said and done, will have time to reflect. And depending on the judicial system, they will act appropriately. But no matter what the decision is, may it be swift and just, that person still is in torment. They were in torment before they stepped on that train. They were in torment weeks before. And the sad thing about it was their support system perpetuated it because they could have changed it. But see, now we're talking like-minded now. And what is going on, family? There is a underlining agenda to convince you to not love you. There are those that want nothing more to make your society into chaos. Well, how can you have chaos without confusion? How can you not have confusion without false truth? Where and how is the influence put in place? Because it all starts here. Here. It is about your perceptions, family. It always has been. We only use 6% of our brains. But look at the effect. There are two families that will not have loved ones. But everybody on that train will have to carry the burden of what happened on that day. There was a statement I remember a long time ago. I'm not going to do an injustice. I don't remember who made the statement, but it was in the media that said, when a loved one goes to jail, the loved ones do the time. It makes me wonder, family, in your community, how much confusion and contradiction occurs every day. We have, on one hand, our safety, but on the same breath, we yell, "Don't snitch." It's kind of hypocritical, don't you think? There has to be a line drawn in the sand between what is right and what is wrong. And what is right should always have courage right behind it. Because one thing's for sure is this: what is wrong will always perpetuate fear. You know, fear. Finally, everything's a reality. But if your reality is not what you like, why do you turn a blind eye? Why do you accept what is deemed norm? What is keeping you fixated to support? I don't have to tell you that. Just look at social media. And we all know that there are those that will bolster and rant and spew vile things that attack our humanity. But yet they go unprotected, they go unpunished, they booster under the right of free speech. Now, at the end of the day, family, you have to lay your head where you lay your head. But wherever you lay your head, if it doesn't bring you peace, if it does not make you emotionally safe, why are you committed to it? I'm just saying. Because I know I have a lot of millennial subscribers. And I know sometimes they may think, well, Gerald, you always give us a bad rap. And actually, I'm showing love because if you just take a step back, you'll hear in my words that I'm trying to convey is really protection. What I'm trying to get you to understand, what I'm trying to get you to understand is I care, but I'm only one person. But I also know all it takes is one person to spark change. You know what I find really ironic is when we look back in these last 2 years with all the civil unrest, the protests, the destruction, because people feel that when they're passionate, they have a right to destroy property, only not to see the effect when that outlet, that retail chain, that supply is no longer there. But what was really ironic is the same the same people that perpetuate these things, they don't live in your community. But they have no problem coming into your community because they don't see the value, they don't see the importance of those who live in that community. What's wrong with that, family? What's wrong with that? Now, I don't know. See, right now, as I'm reaching out to you, for some reason, my camera is not responding on my end. But my words won't change. They won't. But I hope that it finds and reaches the intended person in the intended time. Because guess what? There's love there. And what's in front of that is God. Because I know God makes a way when there is no way. But I also would be remiss to fail to acknowledge that there are those who don't. There are those who do not and will not acknowledge him. But that's okay. The struggle only lasts when you decide to look at it, to acknowledge its placement. You want change, you must ground your feet. You must have the courage to identify what you need compared to what is only an illusion. So let's look at society now. Because there are plenty of people that don't want you to look down that road. There are plenty of people that want you to stay put because they already know that if you realize not only how precious your life is, you would also be able to see the greatness that comes from it. And that terrifies them. That's why they hide in the shadow. And that is also a reason why people have taken a position to be passive aggressive. If you don't go the way I want you to go, I'm going to do everything I can to knock you off track. But see, I believe in God. And I believe God makes a way when there is no way. So no matter what that devil tries to do, it's not going to happen. It's not. So let's shift gears a minute. Because I think it's really kind of important. Well, I would be remiss to say this. And I'm not saying this to be cynical, but I find it kind of ironic that you've got thousands and thousands of people that use social media to promote negative things, to set the example of what not to do, and they're rewarded. But your soul's not for sale. It never was. It was meant to be protected, just like your last name. So why am I putting this out now? Well, family, you know, you do understand we're getting ready to basically roll into summer. That's right. This year is going by quick. You blink twice and your babies will be out of school looking to enjoy time out. But I also, I, I would be wrong to assume. I believe this is going to be a very climatic summer, especially from the weather. I ain't got to tell you about the weather. Look how the weather's been on a national level. I mean, really, you've got tornadoes during the winter months and flooding and let's not even. I'm surprised they haven't spoke about sinkholes yet because they always do. But we still have the sea level rising. We still have the countless trees, healthy trees, being uprooted. You ever get a chance, you're out and about, you see a tree that's down? As you drive by, take a look at the roots. It's going to shock you because how can a healthy, viable tree, especially if it's over 50 feet, or some of those trees have been around forever and a day, look at the roots. You'll notice how small they are compared to how they weren't when you were younger. Trees have roots go as far as they went, but now they're shriveled up. You ever wonder why that's the case? It's because we're becoming acidic, family. That's why it's very important that you alkaline your body. Because as you alkaline your body, you push the toxins out. But guess what you're doing? You're also replenishing your mind. That's why you hear people say this: toxic mindset equals a toxic action. but you don't never see nobody doing the correlations. How is it that you had so many people say, hey, let's get high, and it's like picking up a Coca-Cola can and having, like drinking a soda. Everybody's getting high. But what not people are not thinking about is a lot of people are dying too. Which means what, Gerald? That's population control, family. By your hands. You ever thought about that? Why is it in 2017 we're in the most technological age for man, but yet we still have people ODing? We're still having people susceptible to flesh-eating bacteria. That's why it's very important, as I said, not to be acidic. We got to be more responsible on what we put in our bodies, family. You are what you eat. That is something that the surgeon, no matter how much the top dollar is given, can fix. Sure, he can nip, tuck, change, but it has no merit on your DNA. But what's so ironic is you were beautiful from day one if you decided just to give acknowledgement to the person looking back. Hip hop legendary group, The Roots. For those who do not know The Roots, you had MC Black Thought. You can see The Roots now. They're the house band for Jimmy Fallon, but I highly recommend, if you've never heard any of their recordings, and they have a lot, I'd always looked at that group like the watchers at the door. Because if you listen to what their content was, there was always information in it. And one thing that was pointed out occurred approximately now, I'd say almost 10 years. And they put out an album called Clones. What's going on now, family? You got a bunch of people looking just like you. And the commonality is the mindset is also the same. So that goes back to what I said before about your perceptions. Maybe that is the reason why there's so much non-accountability in a town near you, in a city near you, in a state near you, only to be felt by your babies, by your loved ones. Now, this is not a slap in the face to those who came before us, because they were only working with what they were told. But maybe now, this is the moment that you'll hear that calling inside you. Because that calling inside you is the real you. Don't be afraid. Yeah, it's going to cost you something, though. Because the more you listen to it, the more your reality is also going to shift. So you're going to have to make a decision. What is important to you? Don't worry about them, because you'll see them again. You say, well, Gerald, why you say that? There are people I don't want to see. There are people, if I saw them, I would cross the street. I don't want our paths to cross. Let me tell you something. You don't realize this, but that first hello was that spiritual seed, a spiritual seal, between you and that person. And until it comes to pass, it is not fulfilled. Some may even know it as a soul tie. Why do you think most generational curses are fortified? Well, my mama was like that, and my sister was like that because she was influenced by my grandma. So I guess I'm supposed to be like that, and you're terrified because you don't like the track record of what's being seen. You know why you're seeing it? Because you're supposed to be the one that's going to break the chain. It was always said if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And part of the problem is there's no love. It's not your responsibility to ensure that you love your neighbor when you can't love yourself. But you are supposed to do this. You're supposed to love that little boy or little girl that lives inside you still. Doesn't matter what that calendar says. Even Aaliyah, rest in peace, said age was nothing but a number. And I agree with that because what is age without wisdom? That's why you hear some people use the term old soul. There's a reason why you've seen what you've seen. And you've seen it because it's a reminder of what you still have to do. It doesn't go away. It's just like pain. Pain does not know time. It knows sustainment. So if you want the pain to go away, you must acknowledge that it exists. How about those who are in silence? How about in pride and ego? Will not give yourself permission to acknowledge that heartbreak. What about that? But yet you will take note to all the tribulations as the relationships come and go. Nothing changes. The lesson's still there. The lesson is still there because you will not acknowledge what is required. Let me tell you something. You know what's on the other side of that if you do? Your breakthrough. Notice, breakthrough. So if you haven't broken through, you're stuck. Or as some would like to say, I'm numb. I'm frozen. Why do you think they made that kid's movie, Frozen? You realize how much metaphorical symbolism was used in that? But with every cartoon, it ain't nothing but a psyop anyway. Though they use that to go after your babies. That's why now, even with animation, there are multiple contexts. That's why you can sit down and watch a animated movie and your baby will see one thing, but you'll hear another. It's been that way since day one. Why? The agenda is your perceptions. It's no different than placing a landmine and forgetting it's there. But in the intended time and moment, unfortunately, it goes off. The impact is there. The impact is the social narrative. So it's kind of contradictory when we hear people say, well, we want change, but you won't change you. We want to make a difference, but you won't define you. Erykah Badu screamed it loud and clear when she wrote and recorded the song Bag Lady, but there's plenty of bag men with heavy burdens. That's why I'm a firm believer. If you're going through something, acknowledge it. Maybe this is the moment that you take yourself emotionally offline from your reality. Maybe this is the moment you'll finally have courage to be still. Because if you decide to be still, you'll finally be able, to see not only how beautiful you are, you maybe even get a snapshot of where you're headed. We're talking about your purpose. Do you actually think you're on this planet just to consume, procreate, and die? If that is the mindset that you have literally spit in the face of those who have come before you. How about those who genuinely give a damn about you? That's the tragedy. And it is being illustrated everywhere. Now, I was in a conversation yesterday, and I saw a meme put on social media and it was in shadow. It was in black and white. And on the left side, it said, "You miss me now?" But on the right, it was an image of, no, I'm sorry. It didn't say "you miss me now." It said, "I wasn't so bad after all, huh?" And to the right, the image was former President George Bush. And we started talking about that. And, you know, one of my colleagues was said, "Well, we're quick to bring up our beloved former president, and make excuses. So, well, we bring up the fact that he was a black man and use that as a justification. We also bring up the fact that the scrutiny. But the one thing that I never heard anyone say, which was a thorn in my side, because I voted for him twice. My greatest disappointment by our beloved president was the fact that our public education for our children is not being protected. Those that are committed to prepare our children are not being supported and given the tools to be the best, which becomes a domino effect on the influence that is impacted by our children. And when I mentioned that, there was silence, because I was like, he had 2 terms and we still have dilapidated schools. When is our public education going to be a priority? And like all the time, I always got this. Well, it's the parent's responsibility to ensure that that child has what it needs. If that parent truly invested in that child, why not send them to charter school or send them to private school? How about, why won't they just spend that quality time instead of allowing Jody to sit in front of that game controller? And I turned around and retorted, So do you realize how many parents are parents by default? Do you realize how many parents that are parents, but emotionally they're not grown? Do you realize how many parents that are parents that won't admit that emotionally they're frozen the moment that baby cried for the very first time? Who am I talking to? You want to turn around and hang your hat on postpartum depression. Well, postpartum depression shouldn't last for 30 years. Because there's a lot of parents out there that will not admit that they feel that their life was put off track the moment that baby was placed in their arms. There's a lot of parents out there that won't admit they feel that they missed out on their lives and the things that they thought they were going to experience. How about our mothers that were mothers at a young age? But you don't hear nobody talking about that. Just like you don't hear people talk about the proper requirement to raise a boy to be a man. Society wants you to be the provider. But if you don't have a relationship with your emotions, how can you provide? Maybe that's the reason why we have so many grown men acting like they're 12. Sure, you can physically engage in sexuality, but what about the intellect? What about your spirit? What about your character? What about your integrity? So we don't have conversations like that. These are the conversations that should be had. But instead of having these conversations, you know what we get? We get the opposite. We got a gun show near you. We got the 6 o'clock news talking about what did not happen or should have happened, only to see that mother, because it's always a female, tears streaming down her face because her son is covered by a tarp. Life cut short. We don't talk about that. Why is that? Because we want to sensationalize and condone bad behavior. Well, you can change that when you decide to give a damn about yourself. Because let's be honest. You can attain all the bells and whistles that this planet will provide. You could have all the decimals put in place in your bank account, but it won't make you feel whole. Maybe that's why you see so much condescending rhetoric in your news when people make bad choices, like what's going on right now. Tiger Woods got arrested for suspected DUI. He quickly put out the no, that was side effect of prescriptions. But they're already spinning that. But yet, let it be somebody else. No, it won't even make the news. You think that doesn't have an effect on our babies? We see it. Yes, even I listen to the Breakfast Club here, and Charlemagne the God is one of the radio personalities, and he said, having an opinion doesn't mean it's fact. And that's so true. But if you don't make a point to make your life priority, your reality will always have you sitting in the back. So it's not about pride. And it's really not about agenda, because we're going to have countless people going to say, well, you know, it's the system, it's the man, you know, it's them. But when you going to take accountability for your choices? When you going to do it? Because you can't live your life with the victim card. I'm a card-carrying member of the non-accountable club. Nah, that's not your story. It never was. But I'm going to tell you what, millennials, there are those that want to make your future a living hell. And I think it's kind of funny, not that I'm not trying to fuse this together, but, you know, metaphorically, when I saw that show, The Walking Dead, I always think of people that are strung out. And what's going on? People are getting so zooted up to the point they don't even fall down no more. Yes, they laugh, they snicker, they joke, but the reality is that's still somebody's daughter, somebody's son, somebody's mother, somebody's father, someone that shares your last name. Stop worrying about what's going on outside your door and start giving a damn what's going on inside you. Because once you get that in check, everything else will align itself as it should. And as I was saying before, don't worry. You'll see him again. Because I'm going to tell you how an opportunist operates. See, an opportunist knows that whatever agenda was used to get access to your life, they also know when to pull the plug before they're discovered. That's why they always leave before the smoke clears. But you know what an opportunist also does? In the shadows, very quietly, they take note and they watch what you do. And deep down inside, they're terrified that you will find yourself. Because if you find yourself, guess what's going to be there? Your self-worth. Because the clarity is going to be brutally honest. So if you are there, why are you holding on to that pain? Why don't you let it out? Why don't you let those tears fall? But see, I know society doesn't want men to embrace their emotions, because they know that if they embrace their emotions, that means they're going to think cognitively, and they're terrified of that. They're terrified of that. They want you to be one-dimensional. Yeah, go ahead and be that caveman. How about you just be that pawn, because now you're not a threat. You're not a threat. I can move you around the chessboard of your social community and get the outcome I want, because guess what? I have your mind. I have it. So it's up to you to love yourself more, family. Don't worry about the people that want to say deuces. Open the door. Get out of their way. How about you be honest to yourself and admit They didn't have the best interest for you anyway. But trust and believe, they're not going to let you leave scot-free. Because no matter where you go, no matter what you do, they're going to always take note. They're going to watch. So it's your responsibility not to focus on them, but focus on the person you're destined to be. You know, the person that God had already set in place the moment you took your first breath. Yes, you have a purpose. And your purpose is His will. And you'll come to understand that is what fortifies and reveals your direction. 2017, family, we are so fragmented. I remember there was a time about 35 years ago where your neighbor took note. Your family communicated. There was a unity. Now, we have drawn a proverbial line on the concrete, and you mind your business, I mind mine. And what will be, will be. That is so wrong. Because guess who's benefiting? All those people that don't want you to grow. And their number one tactic is to isolate you from those who will have your best interest, but more importantly, isolate you from yourself. Maybe that's the reason why you can finally admit to yourself that every time Charlie goes upside your head, it's not because he loves you. No, that's a person that has control issues, because all abuse, the abuser once was the abused. But you don't have to believe me. You can continue watching reality TV, which is a mockery every time it comes on, because they perpetuate you, my queens, to be prostitutes, to not see your worth, to convince you the only way that you're going to make it through this world is you got to exploit yourself. Don't you realize the most beautiful assets about you is within yourself? How about that mind? But your most beautiful essence of who you are ain't made by Maybelline. It's not, you hide that. That's why in the Bible said that your hair is your crown. So if your hair is not healthy, it's because within you, you fail to acknowledge what needs to be healed. You can do it. If not, you'll end up being in the fraternity and sorority of all those people who chose not to see their worth. And I don't mean this lightly, because guess what? That homeless guy that you see on a park bench talking to himself, he didn't just wake up one day and say, this is where I'm going to spend my days. It was progressional. And they progressively distracted and got him away from his safekeepings. So you're going to make a choice? All that's required is you put your foot down. How about tell that person in the mirror to greet you every day how much you love them? What about that? You know, you actually have people that feel a certain kind of way to use the word love. That should tell you right there how broken you are if you can't even allow that to come out. But it also lets you know how deceived you were, because that was a perception that someone planted in your psyche to play out. But here's the problem with that. Where are they now? Where were they when you scraped your knee? Where were they when you needed them? They moved on, didn't they? Let me tell you something. Love don't hurt because love is unconditional. You want to get back to the real you? Start loving yourself. How about fortify that connection with him? Then you'll understand what intimacy is all about. Because trust and believe, family. A lot of people think, well, if I get I just want somebody to fill that void. No one can fill a void in you but you. So if you're relying on your mate to correct your shortcomings, you'll still be short because no one can complete you. They're only a representation of your state of mind. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. Why is it you see people that choose to overlook, run from truth? The first thing that happens, their health goes. The second thing that goes is you see it written all over they're written all over their face. They age drastically. And the third thing is how their placement in the world. That's right. Charlie was good yesterday. Everything was straight. Now he ain't got none of it. That's because Charlie didn't have Charlie. Because Charlie chose his pride over his work. Have a safe and blessed week, family. We're just scratching. We're scratching our way to the summer. And listen, distracted driving is a chronic problem. Put that damn cell phone down. If you don't have a Bluetooth console in your stereo in your car, get you a Bluetooth for your ear. Because unfortunately, you got some people that do not have any consideration. And we want you to make it home the same way you left. Be blessed.